Hey guys, and welcome to book week 2 of book club. So this week hopefully everybody, or if you haven't read it in the past, we are going to do Brett Weeks's the Blinder's Knife, I believe. Bloody hell! I'm hosting book club. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. Sorry, it's been a long week. So we're gonna be, just talking about the book, what we liked, what we didn't like, and you guys can, hit back to me what you liked and what you didn't like about this book. Last week, I saw comment in the comments, very good comments. I found it really showed me a different side of the book that I didn't realize. Like, I noticed that you don't really hear about anything outside the Seven Satrapies, apart from like the Evergates, but they mention it, but nothing really happens there, which is, it's kind of interesting to see that. I mean, there is obviously travel in the book. In one, you go from one area, you go from Timeria, I think it's Timeria. It's close to that. From there to the Crimeria, and then from the Crimeria you go to Garriston, and then in this one, the Blinder's Knife, you go from the Crimeria to, is it called Recton? You go from there to Recton to, just so everyone knows, this will include spoilers, obviously. So a couple of things I liked about this is it obviously started from where it left off. It picked up straight away, and it was nice and fluid. There was nothing, no jerkiness, no jumping. Like, you see, like, a lot of, like, as a book that I won't review because it's a bit naughty, called, no, actually, that actually flows quite well as well. It was called, Demonica, the Demonica series, and a few of their books in there, they jump from, like, they have, like, 4 months or 6 month period, where they just jump ahead. And it kind of confuses me a little bit when they do that. And it's like, I know the reasons for it, but it isn't the way the series is built. It's built on, it brings in a character in the previous book that is going to main in the next book. So you're always, whenever I read one of those books, I was like, okay, so that's the main character for the next book. Well, this book's just going to be a bit meh. I don't know. I found it a bit annoying. Anyway, back to this one. So it starts just after Garrison. Obviously, I've got notes down here, just so if you see me looking down like this, that's what I'm looking at. Because obviously, trying to memorize 18 hours of audiobook, or however long you took to read the book, is a bit of a pain in the arse. So it starts off pretty much with Gavin, like, facing off against a sea demon to take it away from the fleet, which is quite interesting to see that a sea demon is not faster than the sea chariot. The skimmers that Gavin created, that's quite an interesting thing. I mean, they probably could be if you didn't have enough Luxon to shoot out the tubes, obviously, but it's kind of interesting to see that how fast that they can go, which is pretty cool. I thought that was a pretty interesting thing about that part of the book, to show that, like, Gavin is growing as a character, that he's not, he seems to have always cared about other people, but he's doing that more now. I think it shows it later on in the book as well, when things happen. We'll talk about that a bit later, actually. So obviously he's lost Blue, so he can no longer draft Blue, but he later on in the book he starts losing Green as well, and he eventually loses Green. And I think this is a really interesting development, because Blue and Green seems to be like the building blocks of his drafting, because obviously Blue's obviously is stable and Green's flexible, so he uses them together to create a lot of his stuff, which is really it's interesting. I mean, he tries replacing Blue with Yellow, but there's not really a lot you can replace Green with. I think he does. He's very quick to think on his feet. Obviously, he's had the background. He's obviously been in the war, so he's had to always think on his feet and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see. And a couple times in the book as well, you see like he is human. He's not flawless. Like he puts his hand out and he tries to shoot a blue ball of Luxon at somebody, I believe, and there is no blue Luxon. You know, there is no blue Luxon there. So it's a very interesting fact that you see that he is actually just human. And obviously coming back to the Chromaria, from Garrus. No, they don't come straight back to the Chromaria from Garrison actually, which is a really interesting thing that I thought that Gavin played. That he's always tries to be one step ahead or two steps ahead of everybody, but I think that's because of his upbringing with Andros Guile, who's always trying to make him the best. But I don't really think he ever gave that to Kip. Like when he ever talks to Kip, he does treat him like a nephew. Obviously he is his nephew, but he does always treat him like a nephew. He doesn't ever teach him things. Like he'll say, like when he's in the boat, "Oh, look out, shout out for something." So he's trying to protect him, as in you just keep your head in the swivel and keep yourself alive. But he's never telling him like, "Oh yeah, so I'm doing this because of this," or remember, if you do that, expect this. Like, he's never teaching him the fine, intricate things of politics, because he says he wants to mold him for the next Prism. But like, if you don't tell him about the intricacies of politics, you're never going to get to that stage. And he gives him like this bullshit mission to take down the blue, the color blue. I can't remember what his actual name is, but he's not just some side basic bitch character. And it's just a complete impossible mission for him. Like, he should have just said to him, "Oh, join the Blackguard." And he had such high expectations, and it was like, you haven't told this boy anything or taught this boy anything about politics, and yet you want him to take down a guy who is at the height of this particular, place in politics. Like, come on now, be realistic a bit here. That's why I suppose it shows his human side, and he sees Kip as this ultra powerful, full spectrum polychrome, can probably do anything, and it shows that he very much is flawed in that sense. So it's interesting when he goes off. Obviously, he goes off to Ceres Islands, and he goes there and he starts clearing the way, and he speaks to the third eye. I thought this was really cool, in the sense that the third eye is like a prophet, and she's not this mysterious prophet where it talks in riddles and crap, because that really annoys me. It's like, if you see the future, say what you see. Like, let's be having it. Let's not be, "Oh, you will see a mist on the blah blah blah," and no, let's be having this dead straight. Like, I can understand sometimes it's cool for that, but let's be having this dead straight. Like she said to him, the Blue Bane is here, and she's like a couple more. So is it 4 hours north and 2 hours west, or something like that? I can't remember exactly. So it was interesting. It was nice to see that there was a seer that actually did that, and it was cool to see that. It was interesting the way that Gavin can obviously draft as much as he wants. So he until he gets light sick, obviously, and then he's pretty fudged. But it was cool to see that he crafted like 10,000 bricks for Sears Island. But how many bricks are in a common house? Let's just take this. Right, how many bricks are in a house? Right. Wow. So, if... Wow. So, apparently he built tens of thousands of bricks or something like that, or yellow Luxton bricks, right? I don't know how big these bricks were, but if they were the common size of the normal, house brick that we have nowadays, it takes 8,176 bricks to build a house, an average sized house. So, just saying. That was pretty pointless. Like, unless they're doing the bases in bricks, and then they're doing obviously slightly higher in wood, which they'd probably have to do. Like, apparently they were building warehouses and stuff like this, and it's like, okay. So it's interesting to see. Obviously, he tried to make a difference there, but maybe that's just because the writer obviously didn't think about that, because like I would like to see a bit more of that, if I'm honest. Yeah, I'd love to see a picture of Sears Island to see if it was like the whole house is the yellow Luxton bricks, which would be like, no, they're not, because he didn't craft that much, or he didn't draft that much. Sorry. I'd also like to see like how they built it, because obviously Yellowstone Luxton, so I'm guessing they would put like yellow on top of yellow, but then they'd have to have something to seal in between, because they obviously wouldn't seal together. So did they use concrete? Does concrete even seal to Luxton? Did they use another type of Luxton? I keep saying Luxton, I think it's just Luxton. Excuse me, it's just crazy. Yeah, it was interesting. It's a bit weird, like, but yeah, that's just the way my brains work. And obviously, when Gavin came back, he made the Sears Island a new satrap of it's just a new satrap, because he just abolished the old satrap, which is kind of interesting. Obviously, he has that power to do that, and it was cool the way he maneuvered around the green color, yeah, that one. And can't remember the woman's name, but she does become important there on the books, I believe. No, I can't remember her name, but it was really cool the way he did that. I think that's the stuff I'm talking about, that he needs to teach people like Kip, like, because if Kip could have done something like that, obviously he's a big mouth and he talk, he's always putting his foot in it. Kip is, he's always putting his foot in his mouth. But it's interesting to see when people do stuff like that. Like, obviously we don't know enough, being from the outside, reading a book, of all this satrap stuff to be able to do this. But it's nice to see somebody outmaneuver somebody so easily. So it's interesting to see. Well, Sears Island being a new satrap being Corvin Danavis, which is kind of interesting. Ow! What the hell is that? Oh, okay. Thought I'd poke myself with a sharp, pointy toy. Show. Yeah, which is pretty cool. So when he comes back to the Chimera, like, he finds Daisins out of his blue prism, which the seer actually tells him as well, which is interesting. And was it that night when he broke out of his blue prison, like that girl comes into his room, and obviously he's trying to seduce him, but obviously does, because he's asleep. She just jumps on top of him and just starts, yeah. That's this is supposed to be a bit family, let's not talk about that. But yeah, that happens, and obviously when you guys, when I was reading it, I was quite intent in reading this bit, to be fair, intense, because obviously you knew it wasn't Karis, and as she come in the door, you was like, wow, what the hell's going on? She actually stormed off. And I thought it was interesting that you don't really see Gavin get angry until then. And I'm guessing, because the influence of blue always keeps you calm, or it helps keep you calm and orderly. And obviously without blue, he starts getting angry, and he throws the girl. It doesn't really tell you whether she jumps or he throws her. I mean, it does describe it as he throws her and she tumbles over, but then obviously you get two lads later on saying, no, he didn't. She didn't tumble over, she jumped. So maybe she was paid to jump or something like that. It would be interesting to see, interesting to know. Maybe later on in the books we'll find out. But yeah, it was really, really interesting to see, and to just to see like the politics behind a lot of this book. There was a lot of politics like behind the scenes, and obviously you had a couple of characters like Kip, Iron Fist. Iron Fist was trying, I guess, to get involved in the politics, but he was nowhere near the level of, let's say, the White or Andros Guile or Gavin, obviously. And obviously Gavin goes into hiding, which I thought was really dumb. What was the point of going into hiding? He's losing his colours, like... Sorry, he's losing his colours, so was there any point in going into hiding? Like, he's like, you know you're going to be found guilty. The best you can hope for is to get away from the place, and he doesn't even do that. So it was very much, it was like, alright. I don't understand why he felt the need to escape. If he was going to escape, he should have actually escaped. Like, just left, pieced, and not stuck around for days and all stuff like that. Because that was actually an interesting thing as well. Because obviously, when he decided that he would let Dazen out because he's losing his colours. Now, I thought this was a bit silly because he's been down there such and such years, and he's only now found out that he's gone mad. So no, you would know a person's gone mad, especially if you've been visiting them for the last 16 years. But it's interesting when he obviously Dazen escaped from the green prison. Obviously, he's he's not as smart as his brother, but he's ruthlessly persistent and smart, if you see what I mean. So he can charge through a problem. He tries to go through a problem head first, and he tries to bull rush through it until he gets to his destination. Where obviously Gavin will take his time, slink, and make sure he covers every single point of escape. And probably Corvin Danavis would not even go that way, just go around the outside, because he's just so smart, which is kind of cool, I must say. So obviously, I keep saying obviously, like, you guys have read the book, obviously. See, I keep saying obviously. It's interesting when he lets him out and he takes his pistols out of the yellow and he just shoots him in the head. Like, it didn't give any indication that he would do that in the book. It was like, well, when I was listening to it on an audiobook, it was like, oh yeah, you saw the yellow panel. And the mate was like, yay. And he just fucking pulls that pistol and blows his head off. I was like, wow. Well, that got dark. It's interesting Kara's growth in this book as well, because obviously she has learned about Gavin, and then those little dudes tell him his secret, and then she ends up like going with Gavin and marrying Gavin, and then at the pinnacle of the book, she actually ends up fighting alongside Gavin against the Green Bane. With Gavin actually took out the Blue Bane when he did find it eventually, which was kind of cool, but it was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of like everything was sleeping at the time. So he snuck in there and then killed it. And then obviously when they faced the Green Bane, there was a lot more action, which was kind of cool. Obviously we've got Liv Danavis in this, but I really don't like her character at the moment. Like, she just seems like she's a rebellious teen going against everything her father is saying, and because she thinks she's an adult. That's the vibe I'm getting off her. I don't know about you guys, but that's the vibe I'm getting off her, and it's really annoying me. Like, she's it just winds me up something rotten. But yeah, that's the vibe I'm getting off her. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's alright with Super Violet. She's alright, but she ain't nothing special. She's a little bit smart, but that's it. Little bit smart. And the Colour Prince knows that, so he plays her like a freaking fiddle. we see quite a lot of the colour prints actually in this one as well. Like, we see his mind the way it is, and we see like start seeing behind like the white, the rage, the anger of the red, which was what we would expect. But I don't really know how he holds it in. I mean, he must have a lot of self-control, which is interesting to say the least. I would like to see more of that in the coming books, to see what he does if people press him and press him and press him. I'm guessing he would just kill them, but you never know. We also saw his eco sides, like, because he obviously took over Garriston, and he like literally set out Garriston and was like, oh yeah, we're going to do this, and this, and this. I want the canals cleared. I want this done. I want this done. I want Tyreria. I can't say it. Tongue twister. Tyreria. That's so bad. To be a beacon on like a place where they can fall back to if they have to. It seems to me like he's setting up so if he does lose a battle, he can just go back one step and then hold that place, which is an interesting. Damn it. An interesting thing for him to do, because obviously he could just conquer it and leave, but he doesn't. He's actually setting up the economy so then he can literally have food supplies barbed to him. He's got a place to fall back to. He's got obviously people can flock to there and then join his army, so he's got a supply line of troops. It's really, really cool. Like, he's a smart guy. I'm trying to cover like a lot of people before I cover Kip, because Kip had a lot of stuff going on in this book. So, oh yeah, sorry, I just thought something else what I'm going to talk about on top of everything else. So Simon, that guy crazy. You find out something about him in the next book, not in this book. Which I won't spoil it. But you do find out something very interesting about in the next book, which I found was very interesting, if I'm perfectly honest. But that guy's crazy, and you can just see the inner workings of him and how crazy it is in this book, because of everything he does, from just being really possessed by ever lived to like just outright disrespecting the colour prints. Like, who's insane enough to do that? So yeah, that's an interesting one. Obviously we have I really like the character of Tia, but she has so many conundrums in her character. Obviously she has a master, and then obviously Kip wings her from a game of Nine Kings from Andros, but she straight away she thinks that Kip wants her for the naughty, but obviously he doesn't. He thinks about it, but he's too I wouldn't say pure of heart. Kip's definitely not pure of heart, but he's too, I would say, chivalrous. I would go for maybe loyal would be a good one. Loyal to his friends. Yeah, something like that. But yeah, I really like Kip. I really like Tia's character, and I like her power, the peril. Peril was really cool, and the way they have been explaining it in the book, like, they haven't really got anything really decent in this book, but it's interesting the way that she can obviously see through armor, she can see long distances, she can see in the dark, and things like that, which is kind of very handy in as obviously a blackguard. So that's why Captain Iron Fist said that she could never like fail out the blackguard. And obviously her master, like, that's one thing I found in this book, like, they were brutal about some things. Like, obviously her master was just like, oh, take off all your clothes apart from your undershifts. Okay, now I'm going to beat you. And she starts beating her from head to toe. It's like, wow. It was a bit nutty, if I'm perfectly honest. A bit nutty. So I I wouldn't say I didn't like that. I liked the realism of it. Like, obviously they said about they told you about it, but they didn't like go in depth like with it. So that's why I thought it was okay. Like if they were like talking, if they did like a 4-page spread of Tia getting whipped with freaking different kinds of instruments, like now that would be a bit weird. But they sort of just brushed over it, and you know afterwards she was crying, and that was it. And they told you about it. And you know what I mean, it added more depth to her character, and it sort of told you about her circumstances, not just, oh, she has a master, yes, he's lovely. No, you'll never hear from him or her. But it actually goes into depth with this and says that, oh, she has to steal for this person, and this person is fucked up in the head. And obviously she gets her up comments when it's Grimwoody absolutely shreds her. Like, oof. That thing that he put, no, was it Sharp or was it, I think it was Grimwoody. Yeah, it was Grimwoody. That thing he puts in her mouth and he like clamps it down and shatters her teeth. Oh, I would not like that. That would kill. That would be nasty. So yeah, I did like Tia. I did like the way as well. They didn't just like the Blackguard training. They didn't just follow Kip's training. They took all the girls aside and they did like a big talk with the girls about, you know, who they are, what they are, and they weren't very PC with it. Obviously, they were like, obviously that you can't, not all women can lift like, you know, a 200-pound bloke and carry him out of combat. So you've got to be smart and you've got to be realistic, and it was very interesting the way they did that. I really like that, because I find that in this day and age, a lot of people, they're like, oh, men and women are exactly the same. No, we're not. We are built biologically slightly different. I mean, men have skeletal and a heavier muscle set to be able to lift heavier things. I mean, but women are generally smarter, and their brains work a lot better, and they can cope with pain better, and they have more endurance than men. Like, if you ask me, women got the better end of the deal here. I prefer to be able to do all that stuff than, oh yeah, I can lift something heavier, but if I get a flu, I get man flu, or if I'm in a little bit of pain, it's a lot more painful than you know, a female can take. And I would love to be able to be more smarter and more academically faster, which is kind of funny, like when you think about it. I'm not going to go into that, but yeah, but it's nice to see that there wasn't a PC with this, like, yes, you're all exactly the same. And you know, if you guys want me to see me do a video about PC stuff, I'll do one, but I don't think a lot of people will like it. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, yeah, it's something that a lot of people, it stares you in the face, but a lot of people think, no, we are exactly the same. Calm yourself, we're not. I mean, I don't care. It doesn't matter that we're not the same, but we're not. It's like saying two breeds of dog are the same. They're not. Who cares? Doesn't matter. Anyway. Yeah, I really like that when they talk to that. Another character in this one was, they showed him a little bit in the first one, but in this one they go a lot more in detail with him, which is Gunner, with his freaking ridiculous talk and his rinky dinky thing, and was it chain his grabbers up, which he's talking about his hand. But he's such a good character because he's crazy. Like, if you would give that character to a normal person, he would get so bland so fast. But because he's crazy, such a good character. Obviously, it continues from his story, like when the boat sunk and he becomes the captain. And then obviously right at the end he gets the the sword gun, which is amazing. But yes, now moving on to Mr. Let's talk about Kip. We've talked about a lot of the characters. We're going to talk about Kip now. We're not going to talk about Andros Guile because he's a little bit. I'll do it quick. He's a dick. He's definitely a white, and he's a dick. But he's hella smart. Like, you don't see enough of his background, what he does in the background to talk about him, really. You see him facing main characters. But yeah, like, Kip obviously comes to the Chimera. I found this really cool, the way he comes back to the Chimera, because I was really annoyed that he leaves to go and fight at Garrison. And it was like, Gavin was trying to protect him, and it was like, you're trying to protect this dude, but he's gone to fight in a war, and you haven't taught him shit. The only reason he went Green Goblin because he's either a genius or lucky. Most people lean towards genius. Obviously he comes to the Chimera, and he's got the blinders now, and he's trying to hide it, and he can't. And the Blackguard picking it up on it straight away. And this I find ridiculous. And then he's looking for a place to hide it, and he's like, "Oh, I know where I'll hide it. I'll hide it in an empty chest." No. Best place for you to hide it, literally, go to the mattress. It's not a big knife. Go to the head of the mattress, which is against the wall. Like, move it out slightly, slit a hole, slide the dagger in, forget about it. Like, why didn't he just do that? Or take it somewhere, like a toilet, right? And you know the cistern you pick up, hide it in a cistern. Who looks in a cistern? I don't think people even clean in a cistern. You should, you really should. But I've never seen somebody cleaning in there. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, like, why didn't he use his head? Like, I know he's 16, but at 16 years old, I would think of a lot about hiding places in a chest. And if it was right at that very second, like I said, stick it in your mattress. Why did it take you 6 months to go back and get the knife? Who's that dumb? Like, this is what I mean. Like, Gavin should have taught him a little bit. Like, he needs to. I know he's learning as he goes along, and his character does develop a lot in this book, and he develops even further in the next book. I think the next book, Kip really starts coming into his own. The next book is where he's at for Kip, I've got to admit. So yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty funny the first day he was there. That guy bullies him, and he's just like, "I've had enough of this," and he just breaks his arm, and that's it, done. It's like, fuck that bully. He's an asshole. Just can't be arsed of him, which I kind of like, because obviously bullies are pathetic. People shouldn't bully other people. I mean, if you're in a group of friends and you're having banter, it's completely different. It's not bullying technically. I mean, if you can take it too far, and it can be considered bullying, but your mates, you understand this, and you know what I mean, you back off. I mean, we do it all the time. The Blackguard training is quite interesting in this, because obviously they sort of, well, actually, it's kind of funny that Kip doesn't get any, like, better than what he is. Like, he does get good, obviously, but he's not that good. It doesn't really go into his training a lot. It says that what he does, it says, oh, Kip does he does normal training, and then he does after training, and then he does special training. He does special training with Iron Fist and Tia, but you don't really get a time where they have a session of that. They had like one session, then a couple of times they show him like punching the punch bag, or they tell you he's punching the punch bag or something, which is kind of annoying, especially because he gets kicked out of class, because obviously he's a mouthy little guy, and because obviously he's playing Nine Kings of Andros Guile, which is kind of interesting, because Andros Guile tries to say to Kip, "Oh, you've lost, and it's your fault. You could have said I'm not playing." If he would have said he's not playing, could anybody even think Andros Gar would say, okay, that's fine, on your way, son? No. I got to admit, it was pretty cool. When Kip eventually did beat Andros Gar, that was really cool. And obviously he got stressed and threw everything everywhere like a little bitch, because he got the help of Janus. Was it Janus Blink? Right? It was Janus something. Yes. That was pretty cool. I liked the I really like the cards. Like, obviously you dink them with your hand, you know, and then you relive the memories. I think that's really cool, and it's a really cool way to like go back in history and show some pretty cool stuff to the series. But I would like to like see. Obviously, there are loads of these cards throughout the world. Like, I think Andros Guile had a set, so did Kip, and I know something happens later on in the books with those sets. But I would like to see different ones. Like, mind you, they are rare as hell, but I would have liked to have seen more of them, more what they do. I would also I would have loved to have seen Kip's card, but obviously when Janus Borak goes, oh, now I know who the Lightbringer is, and she's clearly talking about Kip, and Kip kind of sees this, but then he's like, nah, can't be, I'm not the Lightbringer. And obviously Gavin stamps down that as well when he says the Lightbringer is not real, he's blah 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 this and blah blah blah, he's a bit of a cynic, isn't he? So in Kip, obviously he worships his father and the ground he walks on, so he kind of believes him, which is kind of nice in the next book, which I think well, all the later stages. No, it is the next book. I think he sort of starts to get away from that, which I really like, because it's really starting to get on my nerves the way he always wants to impress his father. The Blackguard training was interesting, the way they started to do these new little missions. Obviously Kip and Tia, they always basically try to find a way around them, which is really cool, because who wants to do the dangerous stuff and like just make sure make sure you get the mission done, like be smart. I also like the way Kip basically memorized the outplan of all the gang's territories, and like he was taking them through all of those things, and he was like on the home straight, and obviously the woman got shot, but unfortunately, you know, you can't do much about that. But it was obviously not her fault she got shot. She jumped in the way of a bullet. I would have liked to have seen, I don't know, I would have liked to have seen, like, I can't remember exactly what happened in that scene, because I think he got shot and then the person ran away. Like, considering they're blackguards in training, you'd have thought somebody would run after them, or maybe it was because they're where they were. I don't know. But it was interesting to see like their training methods and see how they would do it. And obviously straight after that traumatic thing, you had finals exams, and obviously Kip, there was a conspiracy against Kip, and they were trying to force Kip out of the Blackguard, which was again another interesting thing, because who wants, you know, Kip in the Blackguard? Obviously nobody, because he's a Timerian, or I cannot remember the name of that place. I keep thinking Targaryen, but that's obviously Game of Thrones. Flipping hell. Tyrerian. That's not right. Anyway. Damn it. Sorry. Yeah, so it was interesting when their final exams, the way they fought, and it showed Kip, and it showed like even people in the Blackguard who've got that far, like Winston, just don't want to succeed because they don't want their masters to earn money from this. But obviously if Tia did that, she'd probably get killed, which is yeah, fudge that. because her mistress is obviously cruel, a lot crueler. But by then, obviously, Kip won her contract. But it was interesting, and obviously Kip became Blackguard trainee because Croxer stepped in after Kim got beat. He only just about got beat, to be fair. Like, he was very close to winning. But yeah, Croxer stepped in and broke that matey's leg because he was obviously a snivelling little asshole, really. He took money to get Kip kicked out, and Croxer didn't like that. And obviously, being the future of the Blackguard that Iron Fist wants, he respected that decision. Like, it was kind of interesting because he didn't get punished for it, obviously. And obviously, Iron Fist sort of understood this, and because he didn't see this, he sort of let it slide. It's kind of interesting the way they can like vacate the rules so quick and easily. Obviously, like, it's not like you could go out in the middle of the street, break somebody's fucking leg, and go, oh yeah, he's a dickhead. And the police come up and you go, oh, okay. It's like, I'd like to see some more set in stone freaking laws. I can understand there are accidents, but that was clearly on purpose. Obviously the book is all rounded up in Recton, where obviously Tia shows some really fantastic skills of identifying people with peril, also showing her disguise skills to Iron Fist, and Iron Fist somehow praying to Old Hollum and getting his faith back, which he lost. I think it was last book he lost it. He didn't lose it this book, I don't think. But that was kind of interesting too. I really like that, the way he prayed and got like the 2 notches, and then got a direct hit on the God, the Green Bane, the God. I really like the way to, instead of like the blue one, it was all passive. They shine that massive light on it, and they really jazzed it up. Which I really liked. I think if a Bane was smart, he would get one of those mirrors and he would inject on top of his tower, so it constantly beamed down light on him, because he'd basically be immortal then. That's what I would do. And it was interesting the way that Gavin obviously lost green, and he couldn't fight because the God made that like bubble around his whole tower thing, and obviously Kip killed him at the end by a bit of luck. And it was interesting to see the way that obviously earlier in the book, the knife, the blinder's knife, when he was stabbing people, he stabbed that matey who is a Green Luxon user, and obviously he didn't get affected. He got affected by it, but he got back up and started trying to kill him again. But it's kind of interesting the way if you stab a white with it, it sort of drains all the Green Luxon out of them. So obviously they've infused it in their body. So all you've just done is opened up wounds all over their body. So they're just going to go into shock and die, which is really, really interesting and cool. But if you think about it, like if you stabbed, like Gavin got stabbed with it slightly, and that's why he lost blue. I think that's why he lost blue anyway. Yeah, so he lost blue, and then like he didn't die, obviously. But it's a very interesting blade. I think that it has the power, or I think I know it has the power to take colours and give colours. I think if you stab it into somebody who is blue, the blue crystal will take the blue luxing, and then you can obviously you do something with it, and you can put that into somebody else, and that's probably how they make prisms. I speculate, because it does seem like Andros has always hinted that he made Gavin. Gavin was never born a prism, so he made Gavin, and he's always wanted the blinder's knife, and the blinder's knife obviously sucks Luxon out, so it must be able to give Luxon in some way, or you use that and combine it with something else to give Luxon, which is really interesting because obviously that's where the story sort of ends and sort of gets to its end of it. Because on the ship, Gavin and Kip, they're spending some alone time, father and son time together, just sat there doing fuck all, not talking. Like, Gavin should be showing him how to draft in these small, short stages. Showing him things, telling him things, doing anything he can to be his dad. And then obviously nothing really happens with Gavin, and he has to go. Him and Gavin, they go to see Andros, and Andros stood at the prow, and something happens. I think Kip goes to stab Andros with the blinder's knife. I can't remember exactly how the blinder's knife gets brought out. And obviously Grimwoody gets thrown down the stairs, which is really cool. It's like, get fudged. Which kind of goes to show that Kip's training has sort of started to come into flourishing. If you can take down somebody as well trained as Grimwoody. Obviously Grimwoody was a blackguard, which is very interesting. So yeah, so obviously they will fight for it, and then Gavin gets stabbed and chucked overboard, and Kip obviously jumps after him. I thought this is really cool, the way they did that. They sort of done that bit, and then obviously Kip let off a flare, and then Andros delayed that as long as possible. He was like, nah, let him die. But then you wouldn't have thought he would do that, because if he did that, what about the blinder's knife? This is what I mean. That was a sort of a contradiction in what I saw in the story right at the end there, because it was like he wants the blinder's knife. Gavin has just been stabbed with it. If he pulls Kip and Gavin out of the water, Kip has no defense whatsoever. And so he can literally do away with Kip. Gavin should be dead, and the blinder's knife should be in his possession. He has everything he wants. Why does he need to worry about stalling this stuff? Because they should be able to turn the ship around or send people out or something. They've got drafters, for God's sake. They can do something. And of course, right at the end, Gunnar picks Gavin up and then gets his sword gun, which is a really, really awesome thing. And then Gavin obviously wakes up and is living somehow without a scratch on him, but is colourblind, which is kind of interesting to see the Prism's gone colourblind. And obviously Kip is washed up. So yeah, because Gunnar kicks him back overboard and gives him back to his goddess theory. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting on how that's gonna pan out, because you got the most powerful man in the world who's just been reduced to nothing, Kip, who is now on his own, Andros Guile, who's got everything he wanted apart from the blinder's knife. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So next week, guys, we're going to do the next book in this series, because I want to continue with this series because there are only 4 books and we've done 2, so we may as well do the other 2, and then we're going to move on to something else. We may move. I don't want to go back to Way of the Shadow and do that whole series, because we did that first. That was the first book review. So what we're going to do is probably go to something like maybe the Storm Archives or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. Or we'll go to the Name of the Wind or something like that. But yeah, it just depends. It just depends really. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed, and until next week, read your books. Oh, what's the next book called? What's the next book? It's called The Broken Eye. Yes, just so you guys know, it's called The Broken Eye by Brett. It's not Brett Weeks, it's Brett Went, or whatever his name is. No, it's Brett Weeks. Well, that's what it says on my audiobook anyway. By Brett Weeks, the Lightbringer series. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this and have enjoyed talking. I really like talking and I like talking to you guys, and hopefully if we get enough subscribers and enough people on board, we can do this as a live stream. And that is my envisionment for this series, to do it as a live stream so I can talk back to you. It's a bit hard when I'm just sat with a notepad talking about what I think about a book. It sounds a bit like a review, but I want it to be more of a conversation. But yes, hopefully you guys have enjoyed. Until next time, get reading. Peace.